This story is based on a real-life incident. The mysterious man in black was seen only once by 3 witnesses at the edge of a snow-covered rest stop in the early hours of January 3, 2019, and has never been identified since, despite an exhaustive investigation that spanned 4 states, involved federal law enforcement, and triggered multiple disappearances within weeks of that single sighting, all tied by one common thread: an encounter with a tall, silent figure dressed entirely in black, face obscured by an old-fashioned wide-brimmed hat, who appeared in places he couldn't logically have reached, stood for minutes without moving, and vanished without a sound. It began in northeastern Idaho, where 2 long-haul truckers, Ray Harbin and Luis Ortega, had pulled into the isolated clifftop rest area off Highway 93 for a quick break during a blizzard, just before 3 a.m., when Ray noticed a tall man standing at the tree line across the lot, facing them, unmoving despite the biting wind, dressed in an outdated black overcoat and hat that seemed untouched by the storm. Luis called out, thinking the man needed help, but he didn't respond. He didn't flinch, didn't even blink, and both drivers began to feel uneasy when their headlights flickered briefly and their truck radios emitted soft static that rose in pitch every second the man remained visible. After a few minutes, Luis walked a few paces forward before freezing in place, insisting that though the man hadn't moved, he somehow appeared closer, several feet closer, like the distance had shifted without motion, and just as suddenly their phones lost signal, their engines stalled, and all the lights in the lot went out. When emergency backup lights flicked on moments later, the man was gone. Not just gone from the clearing, but with no trace in the snow, no footprints, no drag marks, nothing, as if the space he had stood in had never been touched by anything living. The 2 truckers didn't report the incident until the following afternoon, shaken and reluctant, but their story was corroborated by a 3rd witness, a local maintenance worker named Sylvia Craig, who, 2 hours after the drivers left, saw the same figure standing on the building's roof as she arrived to clear snow. But when she looked up a second time, he had vanished. The FBI became involved after 3 more sightings of the man in black were reported within the following 9 days, each hundreds of miles apart, in Montana, Oregon, and Utah, and each preceding a disappearance within 48 hours. A college student, a retired couple, and a state park ranger, all of whom left behind vehicles with engines running, headlights on, and their last phone messages describing a strange man in black watching from a distance. Analysts attempted to piece together a profile, but found no pattern, no known suspect, and no digital footprint matching the figure. Though what alarmed them most was a satellite image captured unintentionally by weather monitoring software on January 4th at 3:08 a.m., which showed an area of highway near the Idaho rest stop where the snow had melted in a perfect circle 30 feet wide, centered precisely at the location Ray and Luis had described. Yet local temperatures had never risen above 15 degrees. Forensic teams found electromagnetic interference in nearby utility lines, and vehicle dashcam footage from a traveler who passed through hours later showed 10 frames of distortion, revealing what appeared to be a tall, black-cloaked silhouette standing in the middle of the road, unseen by the driver at the time, but clear in the paused footage, staring directly into the camera from beneath the shadow of his wide-brimmed hat. The mystery deepened when archival photos from the 1970s surfaced, showing an identical figure in the background of a rural Wyoming family portrait taken 50 years earlier at a picnic site that would later become the clifftop rest area. Same build, same attire, same expressionless posture, and analysts confirmed the photograph was authentic, untouched, and never digitally edited. Folklore experts began connecting the case to older Native American legends describing a walker of shadows, a figure said to appear in transitional places, borders between land and water, light and dark, life and death, always bringing silence, always watching, never intervening directly, but whose presence was a harbinger of some greater, irreversible change. And it wasn't long before two FBI field agents assigned to the sightings, Special Agents Darren Long and Lena Price, disappeared themselves while investigating an abandoned radio tower 15 miles from the Idaho sighting, after radioing in that they had found unusual heat patterns on the snow and were preparing to descend into a collapsed service tunnel, only for their signals to vanish and the backup team to find only their equipment, still broadcasting, undamaged, but with no one in sight and no prints leading away. Security footage from the radio tower's camera, an old analog system that survived the tunnel collapse, was retrieved and showed two agents descending into the pit, and a third figure standing at the edge moments later, dressed in black, still watching them go down, never appearing to climb down himself, never leaving the frame, just standing there until the camera cut to static. This was the last confirmed appearance of the mysterious man in black, and though subsequent sightings have trickled in from across the country, none have been verified. Yet each involves a similar description, a sudden drop in temperature, and the same silence that falls over the area as if the world holds its breath. The FBI's official report was marked classified, with an internal memo leaked months later stating only, "Subject exhibits non-human behavioral markers. Do not engage. Observe only. Containment unlikely." To this day, truckers passing through Clifftop Rest area refuse to stop between midnight and dawn, and those who do say that sometimes, if you look at the tree line just as the snow starts to fall, you might see a tall man in a black hat, standing exactly where he shouldn't be, in a place you just looked a second ago, closer than he was before, silent, still, and staring directly at you.